The red clay of Strasbourg never lies. It holds every footprint. It holds history. This afternoon, it is going to witness one of the most fascinating tactical battles of the whole European swing. Most fans checking the draw today will probably scroll right past this opening round matchup. They will see names they barely know, assume it is a throwaway match before Roland Garros, and just move on. That is a big mistake. What is about to happen on the Patrice Dominguez court is not routine. It is not filler. It is a collision of two completely opposing philosophies. If you understand what you are watching, it will be the most compelling 80 to 120 minutes of tennis you see this spring. Let me paint the picture properly. Modern analysis loves the baseline artillery duel. Two athletes standing deep, trading heavy balls, waiting for a physical defense to crack under the weight of the exchange. We are used to that. We understand that. But today is different. Today is something older, something more primal in the raw language of professional sports. Think about the classic striker versus grappler dynamic. The striker wants distance and clean air between them and their opponent. They want to set their feet, load up, and fire off powerful combinations on their own terms and their own timeline. The grappler wants none of that. They want to get inside, clinch, and completely smother the rhythm of the game. They dirty up the fight and drag it into deep, exhausting water where all that elegance goes to die. That is exactly what we have today on red clay in France. Alex is the striker. Alexandra Olva is the grappler. And the real story of this match is whether Alex can keep her at the end of the spear or if Olva pulls her down into the mud. Before we even dive into the tactics, let us talk about what is actually riding on this match. Because the stakes here go well beyond simple ranking points. There are specific moments in a pro athlete career where one result does not just change their week, it changes the entire trajectory of their life. For Alex, that moment is right now. She is standing on the very edge of breaking into the WT, a top 40. That might not sound dramatic to a casual fan, but in the pro tennis world, crossing that threshold is like being handed an entirely different life. Players ranked inside the top 40 get direct entry into every WTA 1000 event and every Grand Slam on earth. No qualifying. No Monday morning alarm clocks at 5 a.m. to go hit serves under gray skies in front of 17 people. No burning through your body in grueling 3-round qualifying blocks just to reach the main draw exhausted before the real match even starts. You get to simply show up. You can preserve your legs, save your mind, and actually go out and compete. Beyond that, the financial leverage that comes with that ranking tier is absolutely transformative. We are talking about the ability to hire a full-time physio who travels the world with you, dedicated hitting partners who push you in practice, and sports psychologists who help you manage the mental warfare of the tour. It all becomes accessible. A deep run in Strasbourg at a WTA 500 event does more than give Alex points. It gives her infrastructure. It gives her a future. So when you watch her walk onto that court today, understand that every single point carries that weight. Now let us talk about who she is as a player and why this specific surface feels like it was designed for her. Alex enters this tournament carrying genuine momentum from her run in Rome. At the Italian Open, she put together back-to-back wins over Magdalena Frech and Wang Sainu, two players who are not easy outs on clay before facing Elena Rybakina, the reigning two-time Grand Slam champion. She lost that in straight sets. Most people would file that under disappointment and move on. But her coaching team is not just looking at the score. They are studying the tape because the tape shows a player who is evolving incredibly rapidly. A player whose movement on clay has quietly undergone a serious transformation. This is no accident of timing. Alex was shaped by the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. She grew up training on red clay. It is literally baked into her foundations. What you are seeing now is that foundation finally maturing into something genuinely dangerous. Her movement is the most obvious sign of progress. She has made the transition from that choppy hardcourt scurry where you stop, reset, and then hit to a genuine fluid clay court slide. That might sound minor, but it is absolutely enormous. When you can slide into a ball, you are decelerating your body weight much more smoothly, striking the ball cleanly and recovering your balance and position in one continuous motion. It saves energy over 3 tough sets. It allows you to hit from positions that would feel off balance and uncomfortable on any other court surface. It makes you look like you belong out there. More importantly, it makes your opponents feel like they are trying to move you off a surface you own. But the most important weapon Alex carries onto the court today has absolutely nothing to do with her feet. It has everything to do with which hand she holds her racket in. She is left-handed, and on court, that is not just a detail. Against 90% of the Pro Tour, who are right-handed and spent their whole careers training against right-handed opponents, a left-hander creates an immediate geometric puzzle that never fully goes away. Her standard cross-court forehand, the shot she hits most naturally, travels directly into the backhand of a right-handed opponent. It happens every single time. That is the essence of tennis strategy. You attack the weaker wing. You do it relentlessly, striking from your most comfortable, dominant stance. And for Alex, these two factors align perfectly. Her massive forehand generates nearly 2,800 revolutions per minute of topspin. When that ball kicks hard to the opponent's backhand, it physically pulls them way off the court, deep into the doubles alley, away from the middle, away from the action, away from safety. The moment that happens, the court's geometry swings wide open like a heavy door. The right sideline is suddenly a ghost town. Alex steps inside the baseline, strikes the ball early before her opponent can recover, and she dictates every physical term of the point. This is exactly what coaches mean by controlling the real estate on a tennis court. It is the same logic as floor spacing in basketball or dominating the center of a chessboard. You are not just hitting, you are manipulating geometry, forcing your opponent to constantly chase, recover, and guess. She is also the kind of player who loves using an opponent's pace. Feed her a hard, flat shot and she will absorb that power into her kinetic chain, firing it back faster than it arrived. She turns your own strength against you. Her timing is tuned for that clash. She thrives in that exchange. That brings us to the crisis across the net today. Alexandra Olva has done her homework, and the report says, give Alex zero pace to work with. Olva is ranked 68th. The 25-year-old Ukrainian earned her spot in this main draw by grinding through the qualifying rounds. In her final qualifying match, she beat Yulia Putintseva. If you know anything about Putintseva, you know she is one of the most relentlessly stubborn defensive players alive. Winning a clay court marathon against her does not happen by accident. It takes incredible rally tolerance, tactical patience, and the mental grit to stay locked into a suffocating point-by-point war for hours. Nova did just that. So forget any idea that she is here just to fill a bracket. She is here because she knows how to break aggressive players, and she has a very specific plan for today. Her game is built on disruption, not power, not winners, not pace. Disruption. She changes everything constantly. The height, the spin, the pace, the depth. She will launch a heavy, looping moonball that climbs over your head and drops on your shoulder. She follows that with a flat backhand slice that skims the net and then dies in the red clay. There is no rhythm to find because she is actively making sure you never get comfortable. On grass or indoor hard courts, this style is manageable. The surface keeps the bounce honest. The ball is predictable enough for you to adapt. But on European red clay, especially in the damp, heavy air of eastern France, this style is absolutely devastating. The crushed brick surface bites into topspin and amplifies it. A moonball from Nova does not sit up. It grabs the clay and kicks violently upward, often reaching shoulder height, way outside the comfort zone of an aggressive baseliner. And then, her slice does the exact opposite. The backspin keeps the ball low and slow after it bounces, forcing Alex to bend deep and dig the ball out from her shoelaces, trying to generate enough upward force to keep the ball in play. Here is the real cruelty of this stylistic nightmare. Alex is a player who survives by redirecting pace. She takes energy in and sends it back out twice as hard. But Nova gives her absolutely nothing to redirect. Every single ounce of power Alex generates today will come from her own body, her own legs, her own hip rotation, and raw racket speed. 3 hours of that is an exhausting physical ordeal even before you consider the sliding clay, the footwork, and the high emotional stakes. This exhaustion is not a side effect. it is the goal. This is a cold, calculated strategy. Olva is not playing slowly because she lacks power. She is playing slowly because she wants Alex's legs to feel like lead by the third set. She wants Alex's patience to fracture under the monotony and the frustration of it all. She is baiting her into a spectacular winner on the fourth ball when the correct shot is the seventh. There is a reason defensive specialists are often the toughest opponents in any pro sport. They do not beat you. They let you beat yourself. So, how does Alex solve this puzzle? Because there is always a way through. But it requires a specific blueprint executed with total discipline, even when everything in her body and mind is screaming at her to try something desperate. The first thing she has to manage is territory. Court real estate. When Olva launches a high, heavy moonball 10 feet into the air, every human instinct says to back up. Give yourself room. Wait for it to drop. Let it enter the strike zone. Alex cannot do that today. She cannot give Olva those extra 3 seconds of recovery time. That is how the defensive trap resets and the grinding cycle starts all over again. Instead, she must step forward. She has to attack the ball on the rise, compressing both time and court space simultaneously. If it climbs too high, she must be brave enough to take it out of the air with a swinging volley before it ever hits the clay. Aggressive, decisive, territorial, never backing up, never retreating, never giving Nova the luxury of time. Second, Alex must recognize the short slice trap. Olva will regularly float a low backspin ball just over the net, baiting Alex into a frantic forward sprint where her own momentum makes it nearly impossible to stop, set her feet, and generate a controlled defensive response. The panicked response is to try for a flat winner to end the point before things get worse. That is exactly what Nova wants. That is the trap. That is the trap Nova is carefully engineering. The right play is to drop the racket head, load up that heavy top spin, and roll the ball deep with margin. Keep it safe in the corners, and then charge the net to finish the point. Forget the flashy passing winners. The real objective is to force Nova into a corner, making her hit a low percentage shot while she is at a dead sprint. Make her play offense. Force her to generate all that power on her own terms. That is exactly where she feels uncomfortable. Now, the third piece of this game plan, the serve. This is where Alex's left hand turns into a lethal weapon, not just some unique stylistic quirk. Nova stands way back to return, buying time and killing the pace. Against a right-hander, that is a solid defensive strategy. Against Alex, it is a massive vulnerability. That lefty slider out wide on the advantage court pulls Nova completely off the court, leaving a giant vacant corridor on the opposite side. Alex serves it wide. The return floats back weakly into the middle because Nova is scrambling from the sidelines. Alex is already loading up her heavy forehand to blast it into that wide-open space on the right. Serve +1, and the point is over. It sounds simple enough, but executing that pattern under pressure for an entire match is what really separates the pros from everyone else. If Alex keeps her first serve above 65%, she is basically printing free points. She saves her energy for the long rallies she cannot avoid, putting scoreboard pressure on Nova early. The fourth and final tactical tool she needs today, the drop shot. When a defender camps 15 feet behind the baseline for a long war of attrition, they leave the entire front third of the court wide open. That space is not empty by accident. The defender is betting you will not use it, or that if you try, your shot will bounce high enough for them to comfortably chase it down and stay in the point. Alex does not need perfect, featherlight drop shots that die on the line. She just needs them to be good enough to make Nova start running. The second Nova starts sprinting toward the net, she is forced into playing offense. She has to generate her own power now. She is hitting from awkward positions against an opponent who is already moving in toward the ball. As a natural counterpuncher, Nova is inherently uncomfortable when she has to generate her own offense. By consistently threatening that drop shot, Alex changes the mental map of every rally. Nova can no longer just sit deep and breathe. She has to stay sharp and respect the short ball. Once a defender loses the comfort of their deep position, their entire game starts to wobble. Look, let me be totally honest with you because the truth is more interesting than the hype. None of this strategy matters if her mind breaks first. Facing a defensive junk ball specialist like Nova is honestly one of the most miserable psychological experiences in professional tennis. It does not even feel like playing tennis. It feels like building something delicate while someone keeps shaking the table. Alex is going to make unforced errors today. A lot of them. She will frame forehands into the back fence. She will dump simple approach shots into the net tape because the ball died on a patch of clay and her timing was off. She will watch the flight of her own shots and they will land in places that make zero logical sense to her. This is not because she is playing badly. It is because Nova is an expert at making great players look confused. The real danger is not that first mistake. The real danger is the aftermath. If Alex frames a shot and then tries to overcompensate by swinging harder just to prove a point, she has walked right into Nova's web. If she looks at her coach with that specific expression, the one that screams, "Why is this happening?" that look broadcasting pure frustration and doubt, Nova will read it in a heartbeat. Defensive specialists are masters of body language. They are hunting for exactly that moment. The second the aggressive player starts to press, the defensive player starts to win. What Alex needs today, more than the tactics or the physical fitness, is veteran-level emotional control. She has to be totally unfazed by the ugly points. She has to hit 6 heavy, disciplined rally balls just to create one single opening. And if she misses that opening, she must reset to 0 and build another 6. She has to embrace the grind as the actual process, not just a detour around it. She has to be willing to win a point that looked awful and feel exactly the same as if it were beautiful. In combat sports, they say the most dangerous opponent is not the one who hits the hardest, but the one who forces you to fight a style you absolutely hate. Nova is that opponent. She is not just trying to beat Alex. She is trying to turn Alex into the absolute worst version of herself. This match will be decided by whether Alex has the self-awareness and emotional control to simply refuse that invitation. Here is what I think happens when that first ball is struck. The opening set will be uncomfortable. Alex is going to start tight. It takes her time to calibrate her internal clock to weird ball flights. And Nova's moonballs and slices? Those are as weird as it gets. The unforced error count in those first 10 games is going to make for some very uncomfortable reading. There will be moments where it looks like Nova is going to run away with the set. Alex's timing will be off, and her backhand depth will be shaky. She will go for too much too early on short balls that require patience instead of pure aggression.